Hey guys, welcome back to Margo Watches Movies. My name is Jake Margo. Tonight we're going to be reviewing episode 4 of Pluribus, another highly intriguing episode that peels back bits of character info, plot revelations, layer by layer, with some brilliant storytelling by creative Vince Gilligan, who, a bit redundant, but let's be honest, this guy is the tip top of television makers. He is the Chris Nolan, Denis Villeneuve of his craft making. And this is a perfect prime example, this episode, of what makes a Vince Gilligan show so special. I will get into a bit of a recap here, but I want to start off with a couple things I think this show so far and this episode are really excelling in showcasing the strengths of both the storytelling and the cast. So, firstly, I think a tip of the hat is needed to all of these bit characters that show up for a single scene. You got I'll specify the guy at the end of last episode, Carol asking about the atom bomb and the DHL outfit. The bicyclist this week, Larry, who shows up in his bike outfit, and Carol uses him as a volunteer to kind of get a bigger and better grasp of what makes this hive mind tick. These are seemingly thankless roles where I don't know if we'll ever see these characters again, but they deliver in spectacular fashion. And it's been a case in point from the first episode all the way through. It's really, part of it has to be a testament to the script and how great the dialogue is, how authentic and real at times the dialogue in this show comes off. And it's just, part of it has to be casting, I guess, but you're finding actors who, even if you're a encyclopedia nerd, you really wouldn't know who this person is. And they are just delivering fantastic performances week in and week out. And it really adds to the immersion of the show. And I just think they deserve a big tip of the hat, because it's something that is elevating this show to new levels when there's not a single inauthentic note provided by any side character at any given time. And that's not even going into how fantastic of a performance Rhea Seehorn gave tonight, how great Raban or Zoja, I'm going to call her Raban, but if you prefer Zoja, whatever, I just like Raban better. But how great Raban has been in this season so far, the warmth and the genuine sincerity she brings, and the intrigue she provides, the tiniest bit of tension and chemistry between her and Carol. This is the acting across the board is so fantastic. And a lot of times you hear actors say when a script is so good, it's hard not to be compelling in a show. And part of it, you have to give your credit to Vince Gilligan there, because this is a fantastic auteur. This is the master of his craft, and this show is showing every reason why. And I think we haven't even come close to hitting the high note of this series yet. Yet what this show is doing so well on a week-to-week basis, and episode 4 is another example of that, is building layer upon layer upon layer of intrigue. Slowly peeling back layers on the characters, getting a lot more info about Carol tonight. Some things confirmed that were fairly obvious, her sexuality, but you get more in depth about it, and it really provides more insight into what makes her tick as a character. It really goes into showing these walls that she has created, not just with the hive mind, but as we saw in the flashback last week with Helen, how there's this bitter kind of resentfulness with her that she's never seemingly got over. And we get confirmation about why that is, with Larry bringing up her being sent to a conversion camp by her mother. A very, if you know what that means, but it's still not just her having to come out and be like, yeah, I'm a lesbian. No, this is a great show that doesn't have to do that, but you get an insight into why being sent to a conversion camp at the age of 16 by your own mother would build trust issues in a person. What a horrible thing to have to deal with at such a point in your life where everything is developing and you're really finding who you are as a person. How that would have long-lasting, damaging impacts on your psyche, on how you view relationships, on your temperament and demeanor overall. That's not something that's easy to come back from. So it gives, and it's done in this kind of seemingly silly scene where she's talking to a guy in just the classic douchey bicyclist outfit. And you get more insights into her when she records her video on the truth serum. And it's funny, and you get great physical acting from Rhea Seehorn, who really gets to let loose in this role tonight and have some fun, while also giving us really clear and concise character implications and knowledge about her, and it makes her easier to empathize with and relate to. So I just thought this episode was a great character study, while also giving us our first real plot progression as far as like, okay, yes, we do get confirmation, not 100%, but we get a very fair idea that this can be reversed potentially. So now we have our objective. We have our carrot at the end of the tunnel. Is this what the show is going to build towards? How can she reverse it? Now that we know, it's not just going to be her living and adapting. It's going to be her trying to figure out how she can reverse it and save humanity. I like that. And I like how it's not some huge, with crazy score music. And the music, by the way, tonight in this episode, I thought was really good. You got a couple really nice upbeat piano pieces that really had this snappy bit of scene when she's searching for the truth serum. And just knowing that we do have confirmation kind of excites me in a way. It provides there's more stakes now to the show than there was before, of just kind of this hopeless situation where she's trying to learn herself. Now we have actual real stakes where there's a chance. So let's see it. And on top of that, you get the classic Vince Gilligan cold opener, 10, 11 minutes extended sequence, the flip side point of view from the gentleman in Paraguay, the gentleman that Carol called on the airplane in the previous episode, and they had a little spat with each other. And you get some insight into this gentleman. We learn that there is a potential ally for Carol as by the time the phone call ends, and he writes down her name with a question mark. This is a guy that is just as, if not more stubborn than her, more stubborn to the point that he hasn't folded yet, even though, and this is another great bit of subtle storytelling from Vince Gilligan, this is a guy who has seemingly locked himself away and isolated in this storage unit since the day that the event happened. So he is clearly starving to the point where, and this was some really good acting by this guy. Again, just all with the mannerisms in his face, is the twitch of an eye, the raise of an eyebrow, and you really got a glimpse and a feel of what he was thinking at the time. Where they bring him a fresh cooked meal, replacing an old one seemingly untouched, and you see him walk out and look at the meal, and you just see this little wave of like, golly, I want that so bad. And then he pushes it over with his stick. So yes, he's just as, probably more stubborn than Carol even. And he seems to have no trust of these people. And with that question mark next to her name, how is he going to figure out how to ally himself with Carol, or at the very least meet up with her? Because now he's interested. It'd be nice to see some type of, is that what we're building towards in the season finale? I don't know. But that was a classic Vince Gilligan cold opener. We'll see how it comes back around as episodes progress. But that is the last we see of him that episode. And then from there, we get about 30 minutes straight of Carol doing research into what makes these hive mind people tick, figuring out they cannot lie under any circumstance. They can try their best to give non-answers, which we learn is an answer in itself, but she really wants to figure out, how can I reverse it? She knows that they can, but she's trying to get an answer out of them. So she devises this plan to take truth serum from the hospital, and then again, as I mentioned earlier, this really quite humorous scene with a great showcase of acting from Rhea Seehorn. She injects this truth serum into her and films herself as she wakes up, kind of probably blacked out, watching all the things that she's speaking about on camera. And you get to see a glimpse of Carol without her walls, with all of her defenses down, just expressing what comes to her mind. And it's funny and enlightening. And we get a little bit of confirmation that, yeah, she does have some physical attraction towards Raban. So Is that a potential love interest storyline we're building towards, where she could really snap her finger and Raban probably would do it, but I don't know if that's the type of motivations Carol has. So all of it is very interesting. We really haven't reached like a pinnacle of action. And as the episode closes on yet another relatively sizable set piece with no action in it, becoming a staple of this show, these actionless set pieces with all of these extras coming out as Carol is trying to get this question out of Raban, who she's injected with truth serum. How can I reverse it? Raban seizing, convulsing, trying her best not to answer it. And all of these people coming around with tears streaming down their face saying, Carol, please don't. And the episode ends with Raban having cardiac arrest and you hearing the defibrillator about to be pressed on her chest before the episode cuts to black. So we really don't even get confirmation will Raban live. I would imagine she would. And honestly, I'd be a little disappointed if she doesn't. I think she's a great character. But that's where we end this episode. So I think there's still much better things to come, but this is still so highly intriguing and such a wonderfully made show that I am very much enjoying the ride. I'm just kind of waiting for when we get to that one episode Vince Gilligan always delivers, where you just sit there and go, wow, that was a masterpiece. We haven't gotten that yet, but I expect to. But still, all in all, this is an 8 out of 10 easily for me. This show is top of its class. It is a heavyweight title contender. And it is right there with Severance as far as intrigue and originality and ingenuity and just great storytelling, great direction, great acting, cinematography, the whole 9 yards. Every buzzword I could throw at you, this show has it. So till next week, yeah. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. I'm interested to hear some theories you may have. Where do you think this show is heading? How do you think the season ends? I imagine we're going to get more seasons, but I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. What are you thinking? So give me a like if you enjoyed the review. Give me a subscribe if you're liking the channel. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Pluribus. But for now, that's all for tonight. My name's Jake Margo. This is Margo Watches Movies, guys. And as always, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.